Welcome back, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig. I'm joined by Jeff again today. And today we're going to talk about auction draft nomination strategies and how you like to approach your nominating in the draft. Because honestly, that's a big deal in these drafts, is how you nominate, what players you nominate, when you nominate them, and what you like to do. So I'll just start off. This is how I've evolved over the years of how I like to do things. And now I feel like I go into drafts with a better strategy, like we talked about. If we listen back to our last episode, we actually talked about how one of our drafts went. So we come in with a good plan, I think, nowadays. And because of that, I actually like to nominate the guys I want right away. You always hear, I hear a lot of times people will say, oh, nominate the guys, high price guys you don't want, right? I don't want to do that early. I want to do that after I have my guys. So my new thing, this is not a new thing, I've done it for a few years. Nominate the guys I want. Because then if the prices go crazy, more than I'm expecting, maybe I have to pivot, at least I know it right away. My worry is if you're nominating guys you don't want that are still big time guys and you're just waiting for the guy you want, what if that happens and those prices too high and you realize you can't spend that? What are you pivoting to? The other guys are already gone. So that's like my main approach. When you start the draft, I'm nominating guys that I want. And until I have a couple. It's different. If I haven't nominated yet and other people have, and I got some guys, my guys, great, then I'll change it up. But I like to until you have a set guy or two, maybe I'm nominating my guys.
Yeah. And I agree. I think being aggressive right out of the gate is the best way you can do it. Number one, find out if you can actually get your guys. Are they someone else is coming after the same targets you have? Very good to know. Also, if it goes for too much, you can immediately pivot. Yep. And it also, not only can you pivot to a new strategy or new person, whether it be like, say, I really want McCaffrey. If I don't get McCaffrey, I'll try Bijan. If I can't get Bijan, either I'm switching to strategy or maybe there's one more running back I really love. The other thing that it helps you stay away from, which has been a killer no matter what year or when we do it, it is always if you get in a bidding war at the end of a tier. Yeah. And this is one of those that keeps happening to me. Like, no matter how much you want, and maybe it's because I have tiers that are a little different than other people. But if you're bidding on the same guy, people are willing to go a lot higher. You end up overpaying. But if I threw out, and once again, I use Olave, AJ Brown as like examples. So if I throw out AJ Brown while Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp were still out there or whatever, I guarantee that bidding war doesn't happen nearly as much because other people are thinking, oh, I can pivot, I can go here. So it keeps you out of trouble. And I think that is the big thing about being aggressive and making sure that you try to get those key pieces to your starting lineup before you kind of run out, or you end up in a situation where you're in no man's land and you don't know what strategy to do because the first two tiers of running like wide receivers are gone and now you're not sure what to do. Yep.
Another thing, okay, so that's how I like to start, right? You get your guys, right? And then after that, I do like to throw out the top guys that I'm not getting anymore. The ones that are going to take the money off the board because I've already spent too much. I can't get these guys. Get some money off the board. That's what I would like to do. Or there is the interesting option sometimes that works. I feel like it's not a sure thing, but it seems to work a lot. So when you nominate that guy that's further down the board early, after you throw him out there, and he seems to go for, maybe he just goes for his value at that point, right? It happened in our draft with Khalil Herbert. He went for $5 because he was nominated very early. I think a player like that gets nominated later when you're running out of options that you like. That guy goes for a lot more money sometimes, depending on when he's nominated. Yeah. But he very easily could go, you nominate him later, you're like, oh, it's one of the best guys that might have some juice in there. Like a Brian Robinson went for way more than Khalil Herbert. Yeah. And it's all about when they were nominated.
Yeah, I accidentally came off of my queue because I got kicked out for a moment. Brian Robinson was up there and I was like, all right, dude, I spent a bunch of money. Yeah, and actually that is one thing I really do want to know. And I paid attention to it, but not enough. It doesn't happen enough. So please, if that has happened or you've done that in leagues, and whether or not it's worked or not, please go ahead and comment on that one because I would like to know what other people's experiences were in that. And is taking a guy like you said lower and throwing him up. And a lot of people, and myself included, once you have a certain portion of your budget gone, like, half, even more, then all of a sudden you're kind of like, you want to get money off the board, you want to make it fair. And then, but now we're all looking at the same players, right? And I think it's almost detrimental to say, okay, these are the top 5 players, and every single person wants them, because where else are you going to put your money? But if I go ahead, and Khalil Herbert's an extreme case of that, which I like. But if even like Olave, I think this is an interesting one. If I threw up Olave, which is a tier 3 guy, say, and I threw him up while all the number 1s are still around, can I expect to get him for a price? Will it be everyone's holding onto their money because they want Jefferson Chase? Will I actually get a few dollars off? I have not had the balls to do that, because immediately I'm going for, I got to find out if Bijan there, Jefferson, and then pick out my strategy. That is something that I would like to try more of.
I'm a little hesitant. Like the whole throwing the guy out a little earlier, I haven't done it enough. Maybe I need to. The lower tier, mid-tier guy. Like, maybe I could have done that with Brandon Ayuk, and maybe he would have gone for less than he did. It also happened with Cam Akers in our league. Cam Akers only went for $10 because of when he was nominated. I'm not a big fan.
Don't care necessarily.
No, but he's another one though. Later, he goes for more.
Yeah, and honestly, at the end of or nearing where he actually should have went, all the running backs are gone, and all of a sudden he's like, well, if he's one of the only starters left, I'm going to pay more for him. So I could see that one.
Maybe it's the guys that don't elicit a lot of positivity. You're not like in love with this guy. There's not a lot of big fans where people are excited about it.
Or you can, I mean, is it really the end of the world? Like, maybe if you have a bunch of money off the board, maybe the one guy that is in love with him as much as you do, maybe he did run out of money, but maybe he didn't. Like, you're assuming things that you can't control. What I can control is I have all the money. I'm going to throw them out, and then if I can't get them, I can pivot. So I'm starting to think that is the way to go.
One thing I noticed in our recent draft is the whole defensive nomination run was kind of gone. We didn't have that. But how do you approach defenses? How do you like?
I mean, I tried to get cute with it, and it didn't work. Yeah. People were they would bid you up a little bit. And I'm not a huge guy that's like, I'm going to grab one defense and it's going to work for the rest of the year. But yeah, whenever I had, like, after I had a few players and I kind of knew which strategy I was going for, I was kind of like, why not? I'll do it now. I'll throw them out for, I think one I did throw out for $2. Yep. It still got overbid. And then I kept, and the next 2 I threw out for $1, and finally I got one. Did I change? I don't know if I would do that again, just because I feel like there was more power in.
You'd be in the second bid, I think. I think it's almost better seeing how that worked for you and other people.
They throw out a defense you like, and you hit the second bid.
If you like a defense, you maybe just wait.
See, I like that because, first of all, you're either going to pay for them or you're not. Yeah. I think $2 or $3
is okay. It's no big deal.
So I actually don't mind. Not only am I going to spend the $2 anyway, I'll get someone I like, and I don't have to give up my power as far as who I'm putting up, right? Who I'm nominating. And I think that nomination power is something I wouldn't give up in the future, even though I got cute with it. But I think now I would wait. I would just steal someone else's.
So another thing I like to do, you think people should pay attention to when you're nominating, it can be later in the draft when money's dwindling down. First off, pay attention to the budgets remaining for other people in your league. Know what other people can do. And one thing I would do is, if you're paying attention, if you want to get somebody down on money, look at who has the most budget left, who has the most nominate. Like, and sometimes just actual dollars doesn't matter. It might be more of what their max bid is. But look at their roster. See what they have, what they still need to get. If they don't have certain positions, nominate those players. Get the money off of like that specific person. I think that's a big key sometimes, is just watch what your opponents are doing and nominate guys they might need if you need them to get down on money.
Yeah. And watch who is trying to throw major money at positions as well. We talked about another one, but if they're going after Mahomes, note that. Okay, there's 4 guys going after Mahomes. These guys are going QB heavy. Yep. Like, there's going to be multiple. You're not getting a deal. So note that, right? Yep. Same thing with running back. If they're willing to put $60 on Bijan, they're probably going to be up there for another big guy. So keep that in mind. And not to go back in time a little bit, but the other thing that I do want to say, as far as nominating guys early and being aggressive, the number one sin is to wait, right?
It is for me.
We keep seeing it over and over and over. If you wait too long, you end up with too much money at the end. You don't have anyone to spend it on. The players that you want are gone. If I nominate and I'm aggressive early, and I'm going after the players I want, even like an Olave, if you get them in the first 20 people that are getting nominated, the people that wait will probably miss out on you. And then you don't have to go against them later on when they have all the money in the world and they can go after these mid-tier guys and you don't have the cash anymore. So one more reason to get it done ahead of time so you don't have to wait around because there will be one guy that has a ton of money and if he really wants to take guys from you, he's going to. There's nothing you can do about that. So might as well try to get ahead of it.
Yeah, just in general, I don't like to be in that middle of the draft. I don't want to be having to fill my team in the middle of the draft because the prices always get too much.
Yeah.
So that's why if you've already spent and you're waiting around, keep nominating those top. It's not even top guys at that point. They're just the guys that are worth the most at that point. Just get the money off the board. But don't start your draft that way. I see way too many things I've noticed. People ask for advice on nomination strategy. I've seen it on Reddit, on the fantasy football Reddit, all this different stuff. How do you approach it? How do you approach nomination? I've seen people, spend out, throw big dollars out, big players out there, get the dollars off the board. But yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake you can make. And I see it being thrown out there way too much. I just really want to get that point across. Don't follow that advice. I don't like that advice.
I've never seen a top 3 tier guy go to someone for really cheap because there's no money left on the board. It doesn't work like that. So maybe at the end you can scoop up all these mid to late guys, but those aren't the guys you really need. They're not the ones you want. Like, it's great. Believe me, there's a few guys down there I love to have, but also I don't want to overspend.
There's guys I love at the end of the draft, but I don't want my whole bench to be all these guys. My whole team to be all these guys.
Pair them with a very good starting roster, and these guys can break out. But hey, if you're willing to spend $15 on a guy that's worth $5 at the end of a draft, that guy is probably losing the draft, and good for you. If he breaks out, you did your thing. But I already know these 5 guys I got before are good.
Nominate your guys early because I think people are nervous. To be honest, too, at the beginning of these things,
I get nervous still.
Every time we've been doing these since 2010. We've been doing auction drafts. At least, our leagues started in 2010 with auctions, so we are in a lot of years of this. 2 a year. We have 2 big drafts a year. We've done more than that, but we have 2 big auctions a year. Still to this day. Last Sunday night, got a little nerves at the beginning.
Oh, I loved it.
So that's the perfect time because if people like us who do this all the time and talk about it all the time, actually, we get some nerves. How are these other people feeling?
Yeah. There's a lot of times you're going to get way too in your head about, I have to get the deal. I have to get the deal. The deal is just great.
Get the player.
Yeah, exactly. Got to get the talent.
Get your guys. Don't worry about getting other people's money off. Stop following that advice that I see.
Yeah, I do disagree with that. We've done it enough where we know the pitfalls.
We might have said it before too. I think we've evolved and realized over time, done this enough that doesn't. It's not the best way to do it.
No,
this is a much better way.
Yeah, I agree. I just haven't seen where it has really paid off, and I'd still agree with it after you get a few guys and you're kind of like, okay, let's wait for everyone else to kind of equal out. Now we're on the same playing field. Guys, I get that. Yeah,
for sure. But all right, I think that'll do it for some nomination talk. We'll talk to you guys next time.